All right, I'm ready.
Hi everyone, welcome to Metro Caring. My name is Justin, and today we're going to be doing a game talking about eating mindfully. There will be cool snack prizes if you want to participate and play along. So, would anybody like to come up? Hello, come on up, good sir. What's your name?
My name is Rick.
Rick, good to meet you. So, mindful eating is simply listening to our bodies and paying attention to what, when, how, why, and how much we are eating. And research shows that it can help a little bit with gradual weight loss if we want to lose weight, or even developing healthier eating habits over time. So we're going to explore these mindful eating topics a little bit. But first, let's walk through your typical day. So think about your first meal time. When is your first meal time in the day?
Typically it's around 6:30.
6:30 a.m. eating breakfast, right?
That is true.
And what sorts of things do you like to eat in the morning?
Well, we often eat cereal
Yes.
with milk or juice. And on alternating days we may have fried eggs, scrambled eggs, bacon, and toast, accompanied by milk or juice.
So typical breakfast foods, so milk, cereal, some juice, milk,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Bacon and eggs on occasion. So during this time, do you have any distractions, typically, things going on?
In that regard, we're pretty fortunate. The only thing we have is background music, background news station on the radio.
Okay.
We have no TV in the kitchen. The only TV in the house is downstairs. So I would say we're pretty lucky in that we don't have many distractions.
That is good. You're not limited to what's drawing your attention around you. So
True. I try to pay attention to what my wife says.
that is good. It's only that audio stimulation.
That's right.
Cool. So now we're going to practice a little bit of eating super mindfully and see
Mhm.
how it compares to your normal routine.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to give it a shot. So before we delve into that, maybe I'll give an example of something that's really mindless. Personally, when I come home, maybe after a long day of work, I'm a little stressed. I just want to unwind a little bit and watch a little bit of sports. So with that, I turn on the TV, maybe watch a couple minutes and decide, you know what, I also kind of have the munchies, I want to grab something out of the cabinet. So I'll grab those salt and vinegar chips, put them on my plate, usually the whole bag, and just start munching away. And before I know it, the whole bag is gone. So that's a way to eat mindlessly. We're gonna flip that around and see how mindful we can eat, because it's too easy to get too many calories when we're eating mindlessly. So we have a cracker over here.
Yes, we do.
And I'm gonna have you try this little cracker here. But before you do, I'm gonna have you ask yourself a few different questions. So, ask yourself, what am I eating? Or what are you eating?
What I will be eating, it appears, is a wafer cracker that looks a lot like one of the Wheat Check brand's cereals, supersized. Looks like there might be a good amount of salt on it. And it may taste a lot like cornflakes, something akin to that.
Okay. And it looks like a little bit of a wheat cracker.
Mhm.
Might taste like cornflakes. Does it have a smell to it?
Well, a cracker smell. A cracker smell.
A cracker smell.
A plain old saltine cracker smell.
Sounds good. All right, now that you have an experience with it in your hand, go ahead, take a bite. How does it feel in your mouth? And you don't have to answer these since you're chewing, but what are some of the different things you can taste? Is it something that's enjoyable?
And I'm confirming that it has a wheat cracker taste to it. And
definitely.
in fact, on further reflection, it reminds me of the old shredded wheat cereals.
Mm. Yes.
Plenty of salt.
Yeah. It's okay.
It's a pretty
It's an
tasty
okay,
cracker.
salty cracker.
Right.
Yeah. So how does eating like this compare to maybe your typical morning lunch snack routine?
Well, if I found this cracker in my hand in the course of the morning, I would be more apt to put a piece of cheese with it
Okay.
to spice up the taste.
Sure.
I know that probably increases the calorie content, but to answer your question directly and honestly, I would prefer some cheese with it.
Some cheese, yeah. Do you think you might eat it quicker or less quick if it had a cheese on it?
I might eat it a half a cracker at a time.
Mm-hmm.
By itself, I might be inclined to pop the whole thing in my mouth.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe having the cheese on it would actually have you take some smaller bites of it.
Right, it might be a higher calorie input, but I might take the smaller bite. And I would want to point out that because of the texture and the thickness, I might eat it slower than some of the thinner chips, like a potato chip.
Right.
That would be much easier to chew. This one requires a little bit of conscientious chewing.
So maybe that's something to point out too, that our food decisions have a big impact on maybe how mindfully we eat, or at least how we chew,
Mhm.
right? So something like potato chips, those processed foods can really be easy to chomp down and swallow quickly and
Mhm.
eat quite
That's
a bit.
right.
Yeah, so it's actually known too that it takes about 20 minutes for our bodies to necessarily know we're full after we've eaten everything, right?
Mhm.
So having, chewing slowly and ingesting it slowly can really help us from overfilling. In fact, we have some models over here. Did you know that this is about the size of your stomach when it is empty? We have this little jar over here. It is about 50
That's this
milliliters.
size, right?
Yeah, 50 milliliters. Isn't that crazy? And then when we're typically full, our stomach is about 1 to 1.5 liters full. That's here on the left. And that's when we're feeling satisfied, but maybe not overly stuffed. This guy, 4 liters, is the size our stomach can stretch to. So, yeah, what do you think if you maybe filled that whole container with cheese? You think we get quite a bit of calories?
I think I would. Any individual would. That would remind me of my Thanksgiving dinner input here.
Yeah, that's quite a bit of food, right?
Mhm.
Enough to give us the food coma. And some foods that are calorie dense, like you said, the potato chips, the
Mhm.
cheese, can really build up in there and
Mhm.
add a lot of extra calories to our diet. Actually, if that were a Frappuccino, that would be about 4,000 calories worth of food. So kind of cool. So knowing all those too, we have some different mindful and mindless eating practices. So do you ever do any of these at home? Measuring out a serving of what you're going to eat beforehand, or even some of the distracted ones like I did?
Well, we at our house have developed the practice, which apparently is a good practice, of measuring out a serving of the cereals in the morning. And we tend to sit down, and we don't have any distractions, as we pointed out earlier. Chewing thoroughly can sometimes be neglected,
Yeah,
and not so much by the whole family, but by myself.
yeah.
And that can lead to some of the overfilling that I've experienced. And I think we all, but I can certainly point to myself, snacking particularly when I'm hungry, which is unfortunate. My wife cooks good meals, but oftentimes I'm just a little hungry and impatient, and that's when I do as you're doing on occasion.
You go
I'll
over the
grab the
top.
crackers,
Okay.
grab the jar of peanuts.
Yeah.
So yes, I experience some mindless eating.
Yeah. Well, that's good too that you actually notice that you're hungry before you eat, as opposed rather to boredom or distraction necessarily. But as you said, we also want to make sure we're not eating too quickly and get carried away.
Mhm.
So that can definitely be helpful if we're being mindful of that. Are there certain foods that you notice that maybe you might eat more quickly than others?
Well, you suggested yourself
Right.
some of the chips that are available to us.
Right.
Peanuts, of course, the small pretzels.
Yeah.
Those are often very good and go awfully quickly. And I find myself at times thinking to myself, well, you sure have eaten a lot of peanuts and pretzels this
Yeah.
evening.
So yeah, if you could make a goal to cut down maybe on those foods a little bit, so
Mhm.
you're not going over the top, what would you do with those items?
I would and should not bring the whole table, should not bring the whole bag to the table,
Yeah.
should not bring the whole bag with me downstairs. I should measure it out just like we dutifully do with our cereals in the morning. I don't often practice that, so it's possible that that is one area I should improve on.
Yeah.
Actually carry my portion measuring into my snacking also.
Awesome. Well, that's something that you can do to really refine your mindful eating. It sounds like you already practice a lot of mindful eating practices, and maybe that will make you one of the most mindful eaters out there. So thanks, Rick, for playing our game. We're going to have some cool snack prizes if you would like one to help kickstart off your mindful eating.
I'm looking forward to it.
Right on.